The research ship times Serenity's Edge times floated dead in space. Its beautiful crystal hull, once shining like a jewel among the stars, now had ugly cracks running across its surface. Air leaked out of the holes in thin streams that glittered in the strange light of the Cathara Nebula. Dr. Veltar Moonwhisper pressed his delicate hands against the control panel. The Zephyrian's wings, normally a soft blue color, had turned pale gray with fear. Around him, the other scientists worked frantically at their stations. The cetacean researchers moved in their water suits, their large eyes wide with panic. The Andromedans flickered like dying stars, their normally bright skin now dim. Life support is down to 30%, announced Dr. Krillexa, her voice bubbling through her aquasuit speakers. We have maybe 3 days left. Veltar closed his eyes and tried not to think about his family back on Zephyr Prime. He had promised his mate he would return safely from this expedition. They were supposed to study the strange energy readings in this part of the nebula. It should have been a simple research mission, but their navigation computer had failed. One moment they were following a safe route through the nebula's outer edge. The next moment, they were deep inside, surrounded by deadly radiation and energy storms that fried their systems one by one. The quantum drive is completely dead, reported Engineer Hessostal. The tall Andromedan's usual glow was barely visible now. The exotic radiation has damaged the core beyond repair. Dr. Moonwhisper looked at the main screen. Outside the ship, the nebula swirled in colors that hurt to look at. Purple and green clouds moved like living things, hiding dangerous energy fields that could kill anyone who tried to fly through them. They were trapped in a pocket of relatively calm space, but their ship was dying around them. What about the communication array? He asked. Barely working, Hestal replied. I can send a basic distress signal, but the range is very limited. Any rescue ship would have to be very close to receive it. The crew fell silent. They all knew the truth. The nearest Confederation base was 3 weeks away at maximum speed. No rescue ship could reach them in time. Even if a ship tried, the nebula's radiation would destroy any normal vessel long before it got close. Dr. Moonwhisper walked to his personal station and began recording a message. Dear Sylvana, he whispered to the computer. If you are watching this, it means our mission has failed. Please tell our children that their father loved them very much. Tell them that the stars are beautiful, even when they are dangerous. Around the ship, other crew members made similar recordings. The cetaceans sang sad songs in their water language. The Andromedans wrote poetry with light patterns that flickered across their bodies. Everyone knew this might be their last chance to say goodbye. The times Serenity's Edge times had been pride of the Confederation's research fleet. It was designed by the best engineers from 12 different worlds. Its crystal hull could withstand the pressure of gas giant atmospheres. Its shields could protect the crew from the radiation of binary stars. Its quantum drives could cross the galaxy in months, instead of years. But none of that mattered now. The ship was built for normal space, for civilized dangers. The Cathara Nebula was different. It was wild, unpredictable, full of energy patterns that no civilized species understood. The Confederation had marked it as dangerous and told everyone to stay away. They should have listened. Doctor, Engineer Hestal called out. Veltar hurried over to look. On the screen, a small dot moved through the nebula toward them. But that was impossible. Nothing could survive in those energy storms. Is it another ship? He asked. Hessestal adjusted the sensors and shook his head. I don't think so. The energy signature is all wrong. It's too small, too crude, and it's moving through areas that should destroy any vessel instantly. The dot on the screen grew larger. Whatever it was coming toward them fast. Very fast. Should we try to contact it? Asked Dr. Krillexa. With what? Hestal spread his hands. Our communication system barely works. We can send a simple distress signal. Nothing more. Oh so. Simple signal. Veltar made a decision. Send the signal. If there's even a small chance someone is out there, we have to try. The engineer's fingers danced over his controls. A weak signal pulsed out from their ship, carrying a basic message. Help. Ship damaged. Life support failing. Please assist. For long minutes, nothing happened. The strange dot continued moving toward them through the deadly nebula. The ship's life support systems continued to fail. More air leaked out through the hull cracks. Then, suddenly, their communication system crackled to life. A voice spoke in rough, simple words. The translator struggled with the strange accent. Message received. This is UESN Defiance. We're coming to get you. Hold on. The bridge fell silent. Everyone stared at the communication panel. UESN? Dr. Krilsa whispered. What does that mean? Veltar checked the ship's database. There was no record of any vessel called Times Defiance *. There was no record of anything called UESN either. The voice itself was strange too. Harsh and direct. Without the polite phrases that all civilized species used when speaking to strangers. Look at this, Hestel said, pointing at his screen. I'm getting a better reading on that ship. It's primitive, really primitive. The power source looks like controlled nuclear fusion. Nobody has used that technology for thousands of years. But how is it moving so fast? Dr. Krilgse asked. How is it surviving in the nebula? Nobody had an answer. They could only watch as the mysterious ship came closer. On the sensors, it looked rough and angular, nothing like the smooth curves of Confederation vessels. It had no elegance, no beauty. It looked like it was built for war, not exploration, but it was coming to help them. Somehow, against all logic, this primitive ship was flying through deadly space to rescue them. In their darkest moment, when they had given up hope, someone had heard their call for help. Veltar looked around at his crew. For the first time in hours, he saw hope in their eyes. Maybe, just maybe, they might survive after all. The communication came again, stronger this time. The rough voice cut through the static like nothing the crew of Times Serenity's Edge Times had ever heard before. Defiance to unknown vessel. We see you on our screens. Your ship looks beat up. How many people are on board? Dr. Moonwhisper stared at the communication panel. The voice was so direct, so simple. There were no formal greetings, no requests for identification codes, no diplomatic protocols, just straight questions. Should I answer? He asked his crew. Engineer Hessestal nodded. If they can help us, we should talk to them. Veltar activated their transmitter. This is Dr. Veltar Moonwhisper of the Confederation research vessel, Times Serenity's Edge *. We have 43 crew members aboard. Our ship is badly damaged. Life support is failing. Copy that, Doc. 43 people. We'll be there in 2 hours. Start moving everyone to the center of your ship. Away from the outer walls. Why? Veltar asked. Because we're going to have to do some rough work to get you out of there. Don't want anyone getting hurt. The transmission ended. The bridge crew looked at each other in confusion. Rough work? Dr. Krill's saw bubbled nervously. What does that mean? Hessestal was studying his sensor readings. I'm getting more data on their ship. It's definitely using nuclear fusion for power. But look at this. They have some kind of magnetic field generator that's incredibly strong. And their hull is made of metal alloys I don't recognize. Metal? Veltar was shocked. Not crystal? Not biopolymers? Just metal? Primitive metal, Hestal confirmed. But it's thick. Very thick. Like they built their ship to survive impacts. Dr. Moonwhisper called up the Confederation's historical database. There were legends. Old stories that most civilized beings thought were myths. Stories about a world so dangerous that life itself was a constant battle. A world where the weather could kill you, where the animals hunted for fun, where the plants were poisonous, and the very ground could shake and split open. The stories said this world was quarantined. The few exploration ships that found it had marked it as too dangerous for contact. They called it a death world. A place where only the strongest, most violent creatures could survive. And the dominant species on that world called themselves humans. Hessestal, Veltar said quietly. Run a search for human in the database. The engineer's fingers moved over his controls. His face went pale as he read the results. Oh no, he whispered. Oh no, no, No. What is it? Dr. Krilixa demanded. The classification files. Species designation, human. Homeworld, Earth. Status, quarantined. Danger level, extreme. Recommendation. No contact under any circumstances. The bridge fell silent except for the sound of air leaking through the hull cracks. It says here, Hestal continued reading, that humans evolved on a class death world. They survive by fighting everything around them. The atmospheric pressure alone would crush most of us. The gravity would break our bones. And the radiation from their sun would cook us alive. But why are they here? Dr. Krilixa asked. In space? According to this, they somehow developed space travel despite their primitive technology. The Confederation decided they were too dangerous to contact, too unpredictable, he paused, looking for the right word, violent. Veltar thought about the voice on the radio. It had been rough. Yes. Direct. But not violent. If anything, the human had seemed concerned about their safety. Their sensors showed the human ship getting closer. It moved through the deadly radiation fields like they were empty space. Energy storms that would destroy any Confederation vessel seemed to have no effect on it at all. How are they doing that? Hestal wondered aloud. The radiation levels would kill any of us in seconds. Maybe, Veltar said slowly. When you come from a world that tries to kill you every day, space radiation isn't so scary. The communication system crackled again. This time, a different voice spoke. Female, but just as direct as the first. This is Captain Chen of the Times, Defiance *. We're about 30 minutes out. I need to warn you. Our rescue procedures might seem a little extreme compared to what you're used to. Extreme how? Veltar asked. Well, for starters, we're going to have to work outside your ship while it's leaking atmosphere. In radiation, that would probably kill you. And we might have to physically pull some of your hull plates off to get to the damage. That's impossible, Hestal said. No one can survive in that environment. Copy that. You probably can't. That's why we're doing it instead of you. Just stay inside and let us work. The transmission ended again. Dr. Moonwhisper looked around at his crew. Everyone seemed to be thinking the same thing. They were about to be rescued by creatures from a nightmare world. Maybe we should reconsider, Dr. Krilixa suggested. Maybe we should try to fix the ship ourselves. With what? Hestal asked. We don't have the tools, we don't have the materials, and we definitely don't have the ability to work outside the ship in this environment. Through the main view screen, they could see the human ship approaching. It was ugly compared to Confederation vessels. All angles and armor plating, but it moved with purpose, cutting through space like a weapon. As it got closer, they could see details. The hull was scarred and dented, like it had been in battles. Strange devices stuck out from various points, weapons, maybe, or tools. The whole ship looked like it had been built in a hurry, by someone who cared more about function than beauty. Incoming transmission, Hestal announced. Captain Chen's voice filled the bridge again. All right, people. We're in position. You're going to see some things that might look scary. Try not to panic. We know what we're doing. What kind of things? Veltar asked. Well, for starters, some of my crew are about to jump out of our ship and fly over to yours using personal rocket packs. They'll be working in vacuum and radiation without any protection except their suits. Dr. Krilixa made a frightened noise. That's suicide. Not for us, Captain Chen replied calmly. Like I said, try not to panic. We've done this before. On their sensors, Veltar watched small objects detach from the human ship. They moved through space toward Times, Serenity's edge times, like tiny missiles. Each one was a person. A human being flying through deadly space as easily as walking across a room. This is impossible, Hestal whispered. They should be dead, but they weren't dead. They were coming to help, whether it made sense or not. Dr. Moonwhisper watched through the view screen as the human rescue team flew toward their ship. Each figure was wrapped in a bulky suit that looked heavy and crude compared to Confederation equipment. They used small rocket packs to move through space, leaving trails of bright flame behind them. This is Sergeant Martinez. a new voice said over the radio. Me and my team are coming up on your hull now. Don't be scared if you hear banging and drilling. We need to patch those holes before we can do anything else. Through the ship's hull, they heard the first impact. Then another. Heavy boots landing on metal with loud clangs that echoed through the corridors. How are they walking on our hull? Dr. Krilza asked in amazement. There's no gravity out there. Engineer Hessestal checked his readings. Magnetic boots, I think. But the power required to hold someone down in a magnetic field that strong, it should drain their suit batteries in minutes. More sounds came through the hull. Drilling, hammering, the high-pitched whine of some kind of cutting tool. To the aliens inside, it sounded like their ship was being attacked. Easy there, Doc, Sergeant Martinez said, somehow knowing they were worried. We're just sealing up the big holes first. Your ship is leaking air faster than a broken bubble. Give us about 20 minutes. 20 minutes seemed impossible. The radiation outside would kill any normal person in seconds. But the humans worked steadily, their voices calm over the radio as they talked to each other. Jenkins, hand me that patch kit. Rodriguez, check that weld. Make sure it's solid. Williams, start on the next breach, the one near the engine room. Dr. Moonwhisper realized they were listening to people having a normal conversation while doing impossible things. The humans talked like they were fixing a broken fence, not working in the middle of a deadly nebula. Sergeant Martinez, Veltar called on the radio. How are you surviving out there? The radiation readings are off our charts. Oh, that... The human replied casually. Yeah. It's pretty hot out here. But our suits are rated for solar storm work. This is actually not too bad compared to working near Jupiter. Jupiter? Hestel whispered. That's a gas giant. The radiation around gas giants can kill you from millions of kilometers away. Good news, Sergeant Martinez announced. We've got the major leaks sealed. Your air pressure should be stabilizing. Now, we need to work on your power systems. Captain Chen's voice came over the radio. Doc, we're going to need to do some rewiring. Our engineer needs to come inside your ship. Is that okay? Of course, Veltar replied. But how will he get in? Our airlocks are damaged. We'll cut a new one. Before anyone could object, they heard the sound of metal being cut. Sparks flew past the bridge windows as someone used a plasma torch to slice through their hull like it was paper. Don't worry, a cheerful voice said. This is Lieutenant Webb, ship's engineer. I'll have a temporary airlock set up in 5 minutes. Then I can come in and take a look at your quantum drive. True to his word, 5 minutes later they heard the hiss of an airlock cycling. Heavy footsteps echoed through the corridors, getting closer to the bridge. The door opened, and Dr. Moonwhisper got his first look at a real human being. Lieutenant Webb was tall and broad, built like he was designed for heavy work. His face was covered with hair, which seemed strange to the aliens. His skin was dark and marked with scars. When he smiled, his teeth were white and looked very sharp, but his eyes were kind. Hey there, he said, pulling off his helmet. Sorry about the dramatic entrance. I'm Marcus Webb. I understand you folks are having some engine trouble. The bridge crew stared at him in silence. He was everything the legends said humans were. Big, strong, scarred from fighting. But he stood there smiling like he was visiting friends. The quantum drive, Veltar managed to say. It's completely dead. The radiation damaged the core matrix. Mind if I take a look? Lieutenant Webb followed Engineer Hessestal to the engine room. The rest of the crew watched on the internal cameras as the humans studied their most advanced technology. Oh, I see the problem, Webb said after a few minutes. These quantum crystals are really sensitive to hard radiation. They've been scrambled pretty good, but I think I can fix this. He opened a toolkit that looked like it belonged in a museum. Simple metal tools. Wire. Some kind of electronic devices that used actual switches and buttons. He worked quickly, replacing damaged components with parts that looked crude, but functional. How do you know our technology? Hestel asked. I don't, Webb replied, connecting wires. But energy is energy, right? Your quantum matrix works on the same basic principles as our fusion cores. Just fancier. Sometimes the fancy stuff breaks easier than the simple stuff. As he worked, he talked casually about his life. He mentioned working on asteroid mines, where the radiation was so bad that normal protective gear melted. He talked about repairing ships during solar storms that could fry electronics from millions of kilometers away. One time, he said, while replacing a circuit board, we had to fix a space station that was falling into a black hole. Now that was tricky. The gravity fields kept stretching our tools. Dr. Krillexa made a shocked noise. You worked near a black hole? Just the edge of the event horizon, Webb said like it was no big deal. We got everyone out safe. Lost some good equipment though. Spaghettification is hard on metal. Outside the ship, the other humans continued working. Through the view screen, they could see figures in bulky suits moving around the hull. Welding. Cutting. Replacing damaged sections with metal plates that looked primitive, but strong. There we go, Webb announced. Lights began flickering on around the engine room. Your quantum drive should be working now. Not at full power, but enough to get you home. How? Hestal stared at the displays in amazement. You fixed in 20 minutes what our best engineers said was impossible to repair. Webb shrugged. Sometimes, an outside perspective helps. Plus, we're used to fixing things under pressure. When your ship is about to blow up, you learn to work fast. Captain Chen's voice came over the radio. How are we doing in there, Marcus? All good, Captain. They've got power and life support. I think they can make it home from here. Outstanding. Pack it up, people. Let's get these folks back to safe space. Dr. Moonwhisper felt tears in his eyes. They were going to live. These impossible beings from a nightmare world had saved them. And they made it look easy. Lieutenant Webb, he said. How can we thank you? The human looked confused. Thank us? For what? For saving our lives. For risking yourselves for strangers. Webb's expression grew serious. Doc, somebody sent out a distress call. That means people needed help. We don't need to be thanked for doing what's right. As the humans prepared to leave, Dr. Moonwhisper realized something important. These weren't monsters from a death world. They were just people who had learned to be strong because their world demanded it, and they used that strength to help others. The two ships traveled together through the nebula. The human vessel Times, Defiance Times, leading the way through radiation storms that still made Dr. Moonwhisper nervous. Captain Chen had insisted on escorting them to safe space, even though the alien's ship was now working. Just to make sure, she had said. This nebula is tricky. Better safe than sorry. Lieutenant Webb had stayed aboard Times Serenity's Edge Times to monitor their repaired systems. He sat in the engine room with engineer Hestal, sharing stories while keeping an eye on the quantum drive. So tell me, Hestal asked. What is Earth really like? The database says it's classified as a death world, Webb laughed. Death world? I guess that's one way to put it. But it's home, you know? Sure. The weather can be rough sometimes. Hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, and yeah, some of the animals are pretty dangerous. But it's beautiful too. Hurricanes? Dr. Krillexa had joined them, curious about these strange beings. What are hurricanes? Storm systems. Winds that can reach 300 kilometers per hour. They can level entire cities if you're not careful. We get maybe 20 or 30 big ones every year. The aliens stared at him. Every year? Hestal whispered. Oh sure. Plus floods, forest fires, volcanic eruptions, blizzards that can bury houses. Just last month, there was an earthquake that knocked down half the buildings in New California. We rebuilt them stronger. How do you live with such constant danger? Dr. Krillexa asked. Webb shrugged. You adapt. You prepare. You help your neighbors when things go bad. What else can you do? Dr. Moonwhisper, who had been listening from the doorway, stepped forward. But why don't you leave? Find a safer world? Leave Earth? Webb looked shocked. It's our home. Besides, all that stuff that makes Earth dangerous? It also makes us who we are. The storms teach us to be ready for anything. The predators teach us to be strong. The disasters teach us to work together. On the main screen, they watched the human ship navigate through an energy storm that would have destroyed any Confederation vessel. The Times, Defiance Times, flew through it like it was clear space. "How is your ship so strong?" Hestel asked. "Our vessels are more advanced. But yours seems more durable. We build for worst-case scenarios," Webb explained. "Every human ship has to survive things like solar flares, asteroid impacts, and gravity wells. We don't have the luxury of perfect conditions." He showed them pictures on his personal tablet. Images of Earth that made the aliens gasp in horror and wonder. Massive storms covering half a continent. Volcanoes throwing fire kilometers into the sky. Animals with claws and teeth that could tear through metal. "This is a grizzly bear," Webb said, showing them a picture of a huge furry creature. "They can weigh 800 kilograms and run 60 kilometers per hour. Sometimes they wander into human settlements looking for food." 8. "What do you do when that happens?" Dr. Moonwhisper asked, terrified. "Usually, give them some space and wait for them to leave. If that doesn't work, animal control comes out with tranquilizer guns. Bears are actually pretty peaceful if you don't bother them." You share your world with creatures like that? Bears, wolves, sharks, crocodiles, poisonous snakes, spiders the size of dinner plates. "Oh, and there are plants that can kill you too. But most of them leave humans alone if we're smart about it." Dr. Krill made a frightened gurgling sound. "How did your species ever develop civilization?" Slowly," Webb grinned. "And by working together. When everything around you is trying to kill you, you learn that cooperation is the only way to survive. That's probably why we answered your distress call. We know what it's like to need help." Captain Chen's voice came over the radio. "We're approaching the edge of the nebula. Should be smooth sailing from here." Webb stood up and gathered his tools. "Looks like this is where I get off. Your ship should run fine now. But if you have any problems, just give us a call." "Wait," Dr. Moonwhisper said. "I have to ask. Why did you help us? We're strangers. Different species. Your database probably told you we're weak and helpless." Webb stopped and turned around. His expression became serious. "Doc, let me tell you something. On Earth, we have a saying, nobody gets left behind. It doesn't matter if you're human or alien, friend or stranger. If someone needs help, you help them. Period. But we can't offer you anything in return," Hestal protested. "We have no technology you need. No resources you want. We don't want anything in return," Webb said. "That's not how it works. You help because it's right. Because someday, you might need help too." He paused at the doorway. "Besides, the universe is a big, dangerous place. Seems to me like we should all look out for each other." After Webb returned to his ship, the aliens sat quietly in their engine room. Outside, the deadly nebula was behind them. Stars shone peacefully in normal space. "I don't understand them, Doctor," Krilsa said finally. "They're so strong, so capable. They could probably conquer half the galaxy if they wanted to. But they use their strength to help others." "Maybe, Doctor," Moonwhisper said slowly. "That's exactly why they're so strong. They don't fight against the universe. They don't try to control everything around them. They just adapt, survive, and help others do the same." Engineer Hessestal was studying the repairs Webb had made. "Look at this work. It's not elegant. It's not beautiful. But it's solid. Dependable. It will last longer than our original equipment." Like them, Veltar realized. They're not elegant or refined like us. But they're solid. Dependable. When things go wrong, they don't panic or give up. They just fix the problem and keep going. The communication system crackled one last time. Captain Chen's voice was warm and friendly. Serenity's Edge *. This is Time's Defiance *. We're heading back to our patrol sector. You should have clear navigation from here to Confederation space. Safe travels. Captain Chen, Dr. Moonwhisper called back. Will we see you again? Maybe, she replied. Space is big, but it's also small. If you ever need help again, just send out a call. Somebody will come. How can you be so sure? Because that's what people do for each other. Take care, Doc. The human ship turned away and disappeared into the starfield, leaving the aliens alone with their thoughts. They had been rescued by monsters from a nightmare world, but the monsters turned out to be the most decent people they had ever met. Dr. Moonwhisper looked at his crew. They were safe now, heading home to their families and their comfortable worlds. But something had changed. They had seen what real strength looked like. Not strength that conquered or destroyed, but strength that protected and helped. Maybe the galaxy needed more of that kind of strength. 3 months later, Dr. Veltar Moonwhisper stood before the Confederation Council on the capital world of Proxima Centralis. The Great Crystal Chamber held representatives from 47 different species, all gathered to hear his report about first contact with the humans. The chamber was silent as Veltar finished his presentation. Giant screens showed images from the rescue. Human figures working in deadly radiation. Their crude but effective repairs. Lieutenant Webb's kind smile as he fixed their quantum drive. Chancellor Zendara, an ancient crystalline whose body sparkled with wisdom patterns, spoke first. Dr. Moonwhisper, you are asking us to believe that a species we classified as too dangerous for contact has spent the last several months rescuing ships throughout the galaxy? Yes, Chancellor. In the 3 months since our encounter, humans have responded to 43 different distress calls. They've saved mining crews from collapsing asteroid tunnels. They've evacuated colonists from worlds hit by gamma-ray bursts. They've even rescued Confederation military vessels that got trapped in gravity wells. The Andromedian representative flickered nervously. But the database clearly states that humans are violent and unpredictable. How do we know this isn't some kind of trap? Dr. Moonwhisper activated another screen. It showed the times, Defiance times, pulling survivors from a burning space station near the Vega system. Ambassador Luxiana, does this look like a trap to you? But they must want something in return, insisted the Zephyrian trade minister. No species gives help without expecting payment. That's what I thought too, Veltar replied. So I tracked down Captain Chen and asked her directly. Do you know what she said? The chamber waited. She said they don't want payment. They don't want trade agreements or territorial concessions. They don't even want formal diplomatic contact. They just want to help when people are in trouble. Chancellor Zendara's patterns shifted to show deep thought. This contradicts everything we know about survival behavior. Species that evolved in dangerous environments are typically aggressive and territorial. Unless, said a quiet voice from the back of the chamber, they learned that cooperation is better than competition. Everyone turned to look. Dr. Krill Sa, who had requested permission to attend the session, stepped forward. Her aquasuit made soft, bubbling sounds as she moved. I was there too, she said. I watched humans work together in perfect coordination. No fighting for leadership. No competition for resources. They shared everything they had with us, even though we were strangers. But surely they showed some signs of their violent nature? The trade minister pressed. Violence. Krilixa thought about Lieutenant Webb's gentle hands as he repaired their systems. The only violence I saw was their willingness to hurt themselves to help others. They worked in radiation that should have killed them. They risked their lives for people they had never met. The chamber erupted in whispered conversations. This was not the report they had expected. Chancellor Zendara called for quiet. Doctor Moonwhisper, what do you recommend? I recommend we change our classification of humans from dangerous quarantine to potential allies. I recommend we invite them to join the Confederation as full members, and I recommend we learn from them. Learn what? Asked the crystalline chancellor. How to be truly strong. The vote took 3 days of debate. In the end, it passed by a narrow margin. The Confederation would reach out to humanity and offer formal diplomatic relations. The response came back within hours. Captain Sarah Chen appeared on the main screen, broadcasting from the Bridge of the Times, Defiance, **. Behind her, the crew was busy with what looked like another rescue operation. "Confederation Council," she said with her usual direct manner. "We appreciate the offer of membership. We'll definitely consider it. But right now, we're kind of busy. There's a passenger liner stuck in a solar storm near Wolf 359. We'll get back to you once we pull them out." The transmission ended. The council chamber sat in stunned silence. "They turned us down," the trade minister whispered. "They chose rescuing strangers over joining the most powerful alliance in the galaxy." "No," said Chancellor Zendara slowly. "They chose helping people in immediate danger over political meetings that can wait. That tells us everything we need to know about their priorities." Over the following year, human ships appeared wherever there was trouble. They arrived at natural disasters, industrial accidents, and military conflicts. They pulled people out of danger zones without asking about politics or payment. They shared their technology freely with anyone who needed it. The galaxy began to change. Inspired by human example, other species started their own rescue services. The Andromedians organized rapid response fleets. The Zephyrians developed new emergency medical techniques. The Cetaceans created disaster prediction networks. But more than that, the very idea of what it meant to be strong began to shift. Where once strength meant military power or technological superiority, now it meant the ability to help others. The willingness to risk yourself for strangers became a mark of honor across dozens of worlds. Dr. Moonwhisper, now serving as the Confederation's first human relations coordinator, received regular updates from ships throughout the galaxy. Each report was the same: humans appearing wherever help was needed, doing impossible things with casual efficiency, and disappearing again without asking for anything in return. His personal favorite was a report from the edge of Andromedan space. A human exploration ship had discovered a previously unknown species of sentient crystals living in the heart of a dying star. Instead of reporting the discovery to authorities or trying to exploit it, the humans had spent 6 months developing technology to relocate the crystal beings to a safer stellar environment. When asked why, the human captain had simply said, "They needed help moving. We had a ship." Seemed obvious. Dr. Moonwhisper was reviewing these reports when his communication system chimed. Captain Chen's familiar face appeared on the screen. "Hey, Doc," she said with a smile. "How's the diplomatic life treating you?" "Very well, Captain. Though I have to ask, the Council is still waiting for your formal response to the membership offer." Chen laughed. "Tell them we're thinking about it. But honestly, we're too busy right now. Do you know how many distress calls we get every day? The galaxy is a dangerous place. It's becoming less dangerous thanks to you." "Not just us," Chen corrected. "Everyone's getting involved now. That rescue fleet the Zephyrians organized saved 300 people last week, and the Cetacean early warning system prevented a major disaster in the Tau Ceti system." She was right. The humans had sparked something that was spreading across the galaxy. A new understanding that true civilization wasn't about avoiding danger, but about protecting each other from it. "Captain," Dr. Moonwhisper said, "can I ask you something personal?" "Sure. Do you ever regret it? Spending your time helping strangers instead of building an empire? Your species could probably conquer half the galaxy if you wanted to." Captain Chen was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was serious. "Doc, let me tell you something about humans. We spent most of our early history fighting each other. Wars, conflicts, terrible things. We almost destroyed ourselves a dozen times. You know what finally saved us? What? We learned that we're stronger together than apart. That helping others makes us all safer and happier. Why would we want to conquer the galaxy when we can help make it a better place?" The transmission ended, but her words stayed with Dr. Moonwhisper. He looked out at the stars through his office window, imagining human ships moving through space, carrying hope to anyone who needed it. The galaxy was indeed becoming a different place. Not because of conquest or superior technology, but because a species of Deathworlders had taught everyone else what real strength looked like. Sometimes the most important discoveries weren't new worlds or technologies. Sometimes they were new ways of thinking about what it meant to be strong, to be civilized, to be decent. And sometimes, the best response to a cry for help was simply, "We're coming to get you." Sit tight,